Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Joni Young. If you're new here, thanks so much for joining. So today I'm going to be showing you step by step how I painted this fantasy garden. We're going to be working on an 11 by 14 canvas board that's been primed with acrylic gesso. Here are some of the colors that we're going to be using today, and I'll list them all in the description below. Starting off with yellow, neon pink, neon orange, shimmery purple metallic, sky blue, and sap green, magenta, and a large 3-inch round chalk brush. I'm going to start in the center and gently start blending one color into another. I'm going to now add some titanium white in the middle and get a clean mop brush that's dry. I'm going to start to make some lighter pastel tones with all these other colors. And I'm just playing around with the paint at this point. At this point I wasn't sure what I was painting yet. Now I've got a Filbert brush, and you can just use any size that you want. I'm going to start playing around with the paint and experimenting with different brush strokes and textures and see if I want to make clouds up here or not. I'm going to end up blending this out and making it look really soft again. So a few more scoops, and then I'm going to switch over to my another large mop brush, adding more white first. So you can use a mop brush, and this one that I've got here is called a chalk brush, but it's very similar to a mop. It's just very nice for blending. So I'm just going to continue to add more white to get those light, soft tones that I want. Now I'll take another mop brush, a little bit of yellow and white, and start adding that into my blue up here in the corner, just to create so many different shades of pastels. And I really recommend just taking the time to do a painting exercise like this. It's so fun and satisfying. It's really great art therapy. And you could use this for any kind of background. You could build up the foreground as, you know, any kind of silhouette, and this would make a really great backdrop for silhouettes. So just keep that in mind too. But this painting was so much fun to create, all these little blossoms and then little portals. I love creating whimsical art and fantasy pieces. So right now I'm just taking off some of the paint, exposing the canvas underneath to make a sun, and then I'm going to scrape off some more paint, creating a ring around, and then working on some sun rays. And it's really fun to do this, especially when you have a lot of different colors underneath. Depending on how much paint comes off, you might be exposed with some of those colors underneath. And I've had times where I've done this and it's looked like a rainbow right underneath, and it happened by accident, and it was just really cool. So I'm going to be doing some more tutorials that are very similar to this technique in the future. So all I'm doing is taking that top layer of paint off, wiping that excess off on a towel. And creating this sunburst or starburst effect. And clean that center off a little bit more, making it nice bright white. I'm going to take another mop brush that's dry, and I'm just going to go around and around in a continuous circle without letting my brush off the canvas while I'm doing this, and then I'll get a really soft glow around my sun. So you have some sun rays and all those beautiful soft rings around there. I'm going to take some more of my sap green now, and I want to make the foreground a little bit more intense. So I'm going to build up some shadow and use my liner brush to start getting a feel for if I want tall grass or if I want these to be little branches. I'm not really sure. I'm just going to play around using my brush different ways, pulling and dragging and flicking, and then just kind of tapping with the end of it for little leaves maybe, or little flower buds. Now I love a really long liner brush, especially for painting grass with and flower stems. It makes it so much easier, and you can do this really quickly. Just keep flicking and flicking, and then what happens is you'll pick up the paint underneath and you'll make all sorts of neat colors by doing that. So I'm picking up a little bit of pink at times, yellow, and the white, of course. And then I'm going to push and pull to make thicker blades of grass or leaves. Okay, so I'm going to squeeze out a little more of my neon yellow, and I'm going to start adding that to some of these blades of grass, creating another shade of green here, more of a spring, bright green, yellow highlights. And I've got quite a bit of paint on my brush that I'm working with. It'll have a texture to it once it's dried. That's how thick it is. I want it to be thick and intense, and that will help make it look like it's really close to us and more in the foreground. And then the soft sky will look like it's really far away. So it's kind of nice to have things in focus close to us and then blurry in the background. It creates a nice atmosphere, I feel like. And then sometimes you can also have things in the background blur, like more in focus, and things in the foreground a little bit blurry. You can kind of play around with that. Same thing when you're taking pictures. You have settings on your phone that can do that too. So I'm going to build up some more highlights and add little blossoms, little flower petals with some white, some yellow, and then I'm going to just add more and more colors. And this is a really fun one to do because you can just use every color that you want. All of the colors, I've used every single color, I think. I didn't hold back. I love color. All of you guys know that. That's no surprise. And this is just one of those paintings, one of those times where you can really feel like a kid again and go crazy with all the colors, and it's going to look pretty. It's just a happy, happy painting. So I'm tapping and stippling gently with my another mop brush. I do have a lot of mop brushes. I've got probably 12 to 15 now, and it's nice to have a lot of them because once you wash them off, they're wet, right? It takes, some of them take a really long time to dry, and you lose that shape when they get wet instantly. So you really want to have a few to have a few on hand so that you can go to them and have a nice dry one that's got that nice round fluffy shape to it. So I'm getting a nice balance here of light and shadow for my grass and my flower petals. Okay, so now it's time for neon red. And if you don't have any neon colors, that's just fine. Choose the brightest, prettiest ones that kind of call to you. All the colors that speak to you, that you think are pretty and your favorites, just take all those out and use them. I really love neon paints. I use them in almost every painting. They're really, really nice to work with. They just have such a glow, and they pop and bring a lot of life to a painting. I'm going to add some sky blue. This is a really pretty shade of blue. It's kind of in between phthalo and turquoise. And then I'm just dabbing all over the place, picking up all the other colors to make new colors. And I'm going to pull in a little bit of Mars Black to get a little bit more contrast down here, but it's blending in with the sap green. So it's not completely black. It's just going to be a really deep, dark hunter green color. I'm going to soften with a mop brush. And I'm going to gently tap over some of these blobs of colors, pull and make some of them a little bit blurry. And then tap in some more of my neon yellow with a sky blue. So now I'm going to start working on the sun. I'm going to take neon yellow and go right around, partially on the pink outside of the sun and partially inside the sun, so over top of some of that white. I'll now begin to pull and flick for some brighter sun rays. And I'm using white with a bit of yellow. I've got some water on my brush to help that paint flow nicely, and I'm using my 1/2 inch flat brush. Now flat brushes are probably the best brush to use for creating sun rays because sun rays have a straight edge to them, and if you use a Filbert brush, I mean, you can do it, but it'll give it kind of a roundish shape and might be a little bit more challenging to use. So if you're a beginner, I would choose a flat edge brush. So I'm going to make these go all around in a nice big starburst. What I want to do is make this look really magical, and I'm going to purposely go over the little blobs of colors that I have for flowers there and make them all look kind of blurry and like they're blending together. I just think it'll look really pretty to have all these colors kind of just all blending into one another. Then I'll come back later on and I'll add some more flowers over top. So I've got a tiny mop brush now, and I'm going to start tapping and then pulling and flicking with a little bit of blue and white. I thought maybe I could make these look like little fairies or little birds or angels or something down here. I just kind of started envisioning that, so I went with it. And I'm also going to take a little bit of cobalt blue. You can use ultramarine blue too, they're very similar. And I'm going to add some of that down here on the bottom. I love this color, and I think that it enhances this painting even more. It's a beautiful, beautiful rich blue. I'm taking a little bit of white to add with it, just so that it doesn't look too dark. We need a little bit of white in order for that color to stand out against the black and sap green that we have underneath, of course. So I'm just going to tap, pushing a little bit harder where I want it to look like they're larger flower petals. Okay, time for my next favorite color, which is magenta. And you can use quinacridone violet as well if you don't have magenta. Those are very similar. And this is a really beautiful shade that I'd like to add, especially next to that cobalt blue. It's really pretty. Oh, another color that it looks really nice with too is turquoise. So I'm just going to dab that around wherever I want those flowers to be. And then I'm going to begin to create some little portals down in the bottom, I think. I wasn't going to do this at first, but my imagination started taking over, and I felt like it was some kind of magical garden with some little portals, little fairy houses or something. So I'm going to do that in just a little bit, and I'll show you how you can create light over such a dark area. And I've been doing this a lot in my tutorials, so if you guys have been watching, you'll be pros at doing this now. And I want to make it look like there's some fairy dust or stars. This adds a little bit of magic. It makes it look a little bit sparkly as well. So I'm just taking water, a lot of water on my brush, and white. And then I'm just flicking, of course. I usually use a toothbrush. It works much better, like an older crafting toothbrush that I have, but it's out in my studio and I've been painting outside lately, so I didn't have it on me. But that's just a good tip. The toothbrush works way better. So I'm just going to take a little liner brush again and pull in some more little stems and leaves, maybe some little branches, whatever you want to have in your little fairy tale world. So I'm going to work on the foreground down here. I thought maybe I would work on a little flat area of grass or a path maybe. So I'm going to lighten this area down here and just very softly pull with my brush back and forth. You can do it straight across, or you can make a slight little scoop that will look like it's an old beaten down path, and that also adds a little bit of character to your artwork as well. And then leftover paint on my brush, I'll just add some more little leaves. Some little dabs up here. And some little stars. More white in the center of my sun. And I'm going to make a light yellow, white and neon yellow, and brighten up this part of the path where the sun would be hitting it. And then with a small mop brush, I'm just going to soften. Maybe these are little orbs up in the sky. I'm not really sure at this point. I might just take them off altogether. I'm going to take off the excess actually, and then create little tiny stars in them, I think. And then some of those little sprays of white, I just gently pulled and blended out. They look like little shooting stars. With a liner brush, I dab white in the center, and I pull and flick short little brush strokes very lightly and gently to make little stars. It looks like they're twinkling this way when you have that soft glow behind them first. So that's a little trick for you guys. If you want your stars to look like they're twinkling and glowing, then create that soft haze before in like a different color. You could do like a light yellow, light turquoise, light blue, and then put your white over that. That's going to be your actual star. So I'm going to go right into my neon pink now, and I'm going to use quite a bit of it. I'm applying the paint really thick. And then I'm going to mix up neon yellow and white again, add some more little highlights here. Now with my Filbert brush, I'm just going to brush over some of these sun rays again, make them stand out a little bit more. I'm going to take my neon yellow mixture with white and begin tapping in some foliage again down at the bottom in between on either side of the path. Very light soft foliage that looks like it's farther away. And then I'll add some more down on the path, just a little bit though. And then mixing a little bit of sap green in there. Okay, now for these magical little portals, I'm going to wipe off half of a circle shape or just a circle shape. It doesn't matter. You guys can decide what shape you want yours to be. And I'm making mine, so round on the top and then flat on the bottom because I'm going to have little stairs leading up to them. So I'm just wiping the excess paint off on a towel, and I'm making sure my brush is a little bit wet in order to wiggle and gently scumble off that paint. And then I take a little towel and I get it off easier that way too. So creating stairs the same way, just scraping off that paint gently, and then I'm going to add a little bit of foliage, just pulling and dabbing little bits of that paint that's already on there. It's still wet, so I can use that. And then I'm going to add some flowers around the side. You can do yours any color you want. I'll create some little mini gardens inside of this big garden where the fairies live. So I'm going to do the same thing to the other one, and now I've got a little bit of grass green that I'm going to use with a mini mop brush, and I'm just going to tap, tap, tap down either side of the staircase for a little bit of foliage and highlights. Now if yours isn't dark enough, you can use sap green first or black, sap green and black, and then you'll do your highlights with a yellowy bright green like this. So I was thinking about making an actual door here, and I was going to try it out, and then partway through I just decided that I didn't want to do that, so I wiped it off and I changed my mind. So yeah, right here, maybe in another tutorial I'll do that, but for this one I just wanted them to be hollow and opened and no door. So I'm just going to wipe that off carefully and then reapply a nice bright glow inside of there with my white, pink, and yellow. I'm taking neon pink and white, and I'm going to add little dabs of pretty flowers. It's nice to have that soft bubblegum pink in there with the brighter full-on neon pink. And then adding some more little wispy blades of grass. I'm going to start to add the final touches to this painting. So for the next few minutes, I'm going to be just adding more flowers, more of everything, more stars and magic. I hope you guys enjoy watching this. Please leave a comment below, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and join Patreon, where you can connect with me one-on-one and you can actually request something that you'd like to see me paint. So I'll see you next time, everybody. Have a wonderful day and happy painting. Bye for now.